The very institution of government itself is child abuse. Teenager laborers working to support themselves through high school or to have a few dollars in their free time to escape the hardships and indoctrinations of school have their earnings directly stolen without their consent. In addition, an unspeakable amount of children, not to mention adult journalists, have been spontaneously murdered from the sky in drone strikes, directly by the government. These acts of unforgivable violence, funded by money from children's paychecks, are our so-called community's organization of collective defense. With this rotten foundation of resource acquisition that completely opposes moral principle, our defense and public services constantly hang in the balance, readily able to be brought down at any moment by any force of nature necessary. This is an outrageous threat to the individual freedom of everyone. Freedom comes before life itself. The widespread giving up of rights is a giant middle finger to nature, and nature will only respond appropriately. A modern pandemic, for example, would be a very little surprise. The ruling class uses our willingness to give up our rights in an emergency to advantageously boost its power and size. Their centralized control of defense services and automatic violent shutdown of other rising services offered by the free market is a dominative masculine imbalance of the natural dichotomy of security and care. To begin to fix this imbalance, humanity needs to care more by recognizing people's self-ownership and ending the deception of such a thing as nonviolent crime. Supporting the superiority complex, control freak, government mentality, and death culture, backed by subversive agendas by the sociopaths behind religion, is mongoloid consciousness. These supporters are responsible for the improper, consciousness-stunting cultural worship of molecular compounds such as alcohol, opiates, and SSRIs, instead of natural remedies used safely as far back in history as one could look, like ancient shamanism and the Eleusinian mysteries of Greece, for example. These supporters are also responsible for cultural acceptance in our personal society of sexual promiscuity resembling animalistic behavior. All of this is apparent by the ruling class's response to a tiny rise in human consciousness over the past several years, in reference to happenings involving WikiLeaks, Hillary Clinton's defeat, and the UFO reality bubbling at the surface of common sense awareness. The QAnon conspiracy convinces its supporters to hold on to the last lies of the ruling class, taxation being legitimate, the two-party tyranny of Republican versus Democrat, and a need for military hegemony at the absolute negligence of modern medical, infrastructural, poverty and homelessness-related, educational, food, and technological emergencies. Q supporters and their worship of the military ignores blatant, genocidal, and unspeakable human rights violations, like nuclear weapons and bioweapons, such as depleted uranium, resulting in mutations of innocent people. Tolerating this behavior by any organization is outright mongoloid consciousness. Furthermore, tolerating any claims of good intention, and even subsequent actions that do have positive outcomes by an organization performing the aforementioned kinds of human rights violations, is moronic, self-inundating, miserable, dumpster fire-embracing dereliction. Every penny and woman or man-hour needs to be completely withdrawn from government and all groups behind it, or else nature will do this for us in a series of cataclysmic, destructive, and violent disasters. The only issue within government and hidden ruling class organizations, because its management has been hijacked by them, and in the Q movement, that can solve this monumental impending disaster of torrential misfortune on humanity is the UFO or extraterrestrial presence. In public government and associated private industries, this now manifests as the To the Stars Academy of Arts and Science. In the hidden outlet and private world of the Q conspiracy, this manifests in confirmation of the Roswell crash being real and the ET issue being of highest classification. The UFO reality at its core isn't just sourced from people from other planets, rather also from individual humans reconnecting to the consciousness and knowledge from before when they were born. In this realm of existence, outside of time, all people have all knowledge and are removed from the trials and tribulations of temporal existence, or lifetimes in universes. They also have all ability, which the UFO is a tiny example and general symbol of. UFO-related abilities have been known and spread by many cultures on Earth, like Vedism and shamanism, and in human records include teleportation, levitation, bilocality, living off of breath alone, and materialization and dematerialization of objects. To use these abilities, one must first know the true nature of intention, as an intention of thought initiates any single instance of them. This means before these abilities are able to be made manifest, all truths and knowledge about thought and intention itself, or the primary philosophical scaffolding of the builders of the Tower of Reality, must be understood, accepted, and coalesced with first. As the tower is built, the scaffolding is raised with it, and the scaffolding is not removed until the very top of the tower is completed. Every step of material development and evolution, from biological evolution into the personal form to the discovery of simple technology, requires a parallel understanding of the consciousness and philosophical truths needed to do such. The UFO reality immediately facing humanity in an absolute context of emergency due to environmental and other disasters already underway is already materially present in the way that it can be, according to the laws of nature. Publicly called Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind, its practitioners are the only chance of a healthy and stable future after the chaos of the transition into it. Any government or private sector emanating technological public acknowledgement or breakthrough will be a response to this CE5 practice, which both government and deeper ruling class organizations are actively monitoring with conventional means such as neutrino light detecting satellites and more exotic means using the technology they have reverse engineered from UFOs. Behind the cooperation with the current limited presence of the UFO reality are the philosophical truths of the natural rights built into the fabric of reality that will guide pioneers in this endeavor to be able to logically and emotionally handle the full magical extent of these abilities without becoming self-absorbed and claiming to be some sort of savior, and also the limitations and restrictions of these abilities that are unchangeable due to the inherent oneness of their source with natural rights pertaining to privacy and not violating other people's property, whether these other people have the abilities themselves yet or not. But you see, an individual is not a planet, and all individuals die, where they return to these abilities anyway, and must reconvene with all of its implications in their return to the post-temporal realm, which is the same as the pre-temporal realm. So either way, everyone will eventually have to face the implications of the UFO reality in their own individual life plight. Do you want to do that in the light of natural consequences of ignoring and avoiding this reality in your previous temporal lifetime? Or do you want to face that same reality on your own individual basis post-death in the light of truly trying everything you can do to bring those evolutionary possibilities into the world that a substantial amount of struggling, righteous, unjustly victimized and ridiculed people already were? I've made my choice, and I wouldn't even want to be able to make yours for you. I just wish you are prepared in consciousness when myself and others in this group of people defend themselves against your negligent decision not to, in the event of humanity not changing its path, where of course it will wind up where it's heading.